Hey everybody, we are live. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Today's a very special day because I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this channel know John from Disquiet Dragons because I talk about him almost every video. But a dear friend of the channel, and I've been looking forward to having him on for an episode of Shelf Talkers for a really long time, where we talk about books, Booktube, how to create a strong community based on the joy of reading. And looking forward to chatting with you, John. How are you, man?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm a bit tired because I was at work today, but other than that, yeah, everything's great. Really looking forward to hanging out and chatting to you for a bit. It's been too long. It's been too long.
It's been way too long. This has been long overdue. You know, I was dealing with some fires and then just work catch-up stuff. So, I was hoping to have you on in January, but I'm just so glad we can do this now. Better late than never, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, seeing some awesome people here in the chat. Hey, Alicia, the book thing, Amethyst. Hey, everybody. How are you all?
Hey, everyone.
Most of you know John, I'm sure. I just wanted to have you on to have a nice casual chat on a Sunday. And just chat about your reading journey, because I think it's very interesting how, what books really inspire someone to get into reading, and what made you decide to turn the camera on and film your reading journey and kind of foster this community. So yeah, we'd love to know kind of how that all started for you.
Yeah, well, starting reading, always loved books, but as a kid, I was more into like reference books and encyclopedias than like novels. I had like the Mr. Men books and the Narnia books, and I loved those. But it was always like dinosaurs and animals. I was always fascinated by those as a kid.
Yeah,
I didn't actually start reading novels until I was maybe about 16, 17, and it was Stephen King that got me. It really got me. I went to the shops with my pocket money, and I remember seeing. I think it was Nightmares and Dreamscapes was the first book that I ever bought with my own money.
Wow!
And I read that. Absolutely terrified me. Truly did have nightmares for a few weeks, but I was hooked, and I've loved horror ever since. I still enjoy like encyclopedias and reference books and everything. Anything about space or wildlife and nature. Oh, I love those kinds of things. I should really talk about it more on my channel, to be honest, because I do enjoy those kinds of books.
Oh, I think you should. Absolutely. I would definitely love to see some of that, because it's funny how our tastes start to coalesce around a couple genres as we do Booktube, right? Like we just kind of chat with people in the community, start hearing like the same books over and over again, and you're like, oh, okay, I got to put that on my list. But then, of course, we have such varied tastes. Like I know for me as well, I love books about outer space. I remember reading a Neil deGrasse Tyson book. It's called like Black Holes and Other Cosmic Quandaries, I think. And I just loved it. And I read Michio Kaku's Future of Humanity. And it talks about humanity, projected outwards like 50 years later, 100 years later, 500 years later. And it is one of the most fascinating books I've ever read. So I definitely feel like I need to get back to some of that,
Yeah. Have you read any Brian Cox?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, I think you'd love him. He's like this English professor. He's when I say professor, I'd say he's about our age.
Yeah.
But he has this amazing way of speaking really eloquently about high concept ideas in a way that anybody can understand. He just makes it so accessible to everyone to understand these things that are absolutely mind-boggling, to be honest.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Check it out.
And
yeah, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, he's really good, and the books he writes are generally they're like published by the BBC, and they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful books.
Wow.
If you ever see them, grab them. They're amazing.
Cool. All right, you sold me.
Yeah.
I gotta check those out. I remember reading I think it was like a string theory book by Brian Greene, I think his name was. I don't know if that rings a bell. But he's done some docuseries and things like that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, but really, really great. I just looking at the comments here. Alicia says, I wish I could remember the first book I bought with my own money. Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly. I think for me, it was like, it might have been because I used to get like $1 a week allowance this was back in the early 90s, you know, and Scholastic book sales were very much a thing here in the States. So we'd get these little catalogs in school, and like once a month, I think it was, or once a quarter or something. And we could just order books there, and then they would like get delivered to us, you know, so just kind of mail in books.
Yeah, we had something similar. It was like, it would be this like paper pamphlet with about 100 books on it.
Yeah.
And you get it in school, and you'd pick a book and you'd pay like 5 pence a week for however long, and it would get delivered to the school. And
that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
It was really cool because there were people and children in my class, especially, that weren't especially privileged, but it still made books accessible to everyone because everyone could afford like a couple of pence a week, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was really important. I can see in hindsight how they really tried to bring reading to everyone, and that's only got to be it's only a positive thing.
Yeah, no, I feel similarly. I think it was for me, I think it was the Goosebumps books. I don't know if you remember those by R.L. Stein. It was like this it was
a little bit
for kids, I guess you could say.
Yeah, they came out after, they were a bit after my time, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think when they came out, I was probably, I don't know, about early 20s maybe. So
yeah,
I was on the good stuff.
You were already on the King.
Early 20s. It was like Stephen King and James Herbert that I was reading, Anne Rice, that kind of thing. So yeah, I kind of wish I'd have had Goosebumps because they sound awesome, but yeah, they weren't
They're
around.
a great gateway, you know, for a kid into horror as well.
Yeah. They weren't horror as such, but what I had when I was growing up was, have you ever heard of the Fighting Fantasy books by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson?
I know the name Ian Livingstone, but I don't know that series actually.
Oh, they were brilliant. They were like choose your own adventure, and they were like high fantasy type books. Like I think it was The Wizard on Firetop Mountain was one of the most famous ones.
Oh wow!
And you just like pen and paper, and you start off on page 1, and it like set the scenario. Then it'd say, give you like a couple of decisions, and depending what decision you picked, it'd say, I'll go to page 39.
Yeah.
So you go to page 39, and it was like a video game in a book, really. But they were really good, aimed at like teens sort of thing. But they were excellent.
I feel like it might have been R.L. Stein also that did one that was kind of either a spin-off of Goosebumps or something, but he had a similar convention. At some point he did a choose your own adventure kind of thing too. I never got a chance to read any of those, but yeah, I've heard, I remember my friends all reading them. So
yeah, they were great fun.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the comments here again, and let's see. DeGrasse Tyson's Astrophysics for People in a Hurry is so good. Oh, I didn't know about this movie. Thanks, Gage.
Check that one out as well.
Yeah. After this stream, I'm gonna just basically go through it again and write down all of these. My TBR is not long enough, of course, right?
Yeah. We all need more books, don't we?
Yep, exactly. Always. Scholastic Book Fair was highlight of my elementary days. Oh yeah. I used to like, I remember I was in a mode of faking being sick from school so I could stay at home and read. and I would sit under the covers pretending to be asleep and have a flashlight and read, And so that was like the highlight of my month or whatever, whenever they would have those book fairs.
Yeah. Oh, I remember like, nightlight or a torch, and you'd be reading under the covers. It's it's so funny.
So good.
I think everyone did that at some point, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I think it's like a rite of passage for us bookworms,
Yeah.
Treehouse books and Percy Jackson. Oh yeah, yeah. I still have not read Percy Jackson. Have you, John? Have you checked those out?
No.
Yeah.
No. I've heard of it, but that's about it. Is that The Lightning Thief?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. They've done like a TV series now recently, and they had done a few movies, I think, if I remember correctly as well. But I haven't seen any of those either, so I have more catching up to do. But
yeah, I think my dad loves the movies. I'm sure he was on about a Lightning Thief at some point or other.
Yeah.
He just watches whatever's on TV at the time. He either watches westerns or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love choose your own adventure books. Definitely.
Oh, Amethyst, they were so much fun, weren't they? Oh,
so
I used to love them. I really did.
Yeah, I definitely wish I had kind of gotten a chance to read more of those. I was always like, I think especially when I was in the Goosebumps phase, which was kind of around when those choose your own adventure books were also very popular at my school. I think there were like 45 books of those Goosebumps books that came out in like 4 or 5 years, something insane amount, right? So
yeah,
I was just basically reading Goosebumps the whole time. I think it was for me, I discovered King. I think I was like 13 or 14. I read Pet Sematary, and it just blew my hair back. I was like the perfect time. It's like, I don't know if it makes sense, but it's kind of the age when maybe you start getting super into like, I want to stay up late at night and watch horror movies and, the whole thing. And so I was just obsessed with horror at that point. Anything horror, like Friday the 13th, like Nightmare on Elm Street movies and Halloween, every franchise that I could get my hands on.
Yeah. I remember I was off school ill one time. I think I was about 12, and I was being like just really annoying. And my mom, she was at her wit's end, and she was like, "If you'll give me an hour's peace, I will let you pick any film you want to watch." What she didn't know was my dad's friend had lent him a VHS copy of An American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
so I was like, I want to watch that. And my mom's like, "Oh, I've messed up here." So there's 12-year-old me watching American Werewolf in London, simultaneously terrified and enthralled by it. And that was when I just became obsessed with horror. And I'd just record every horror film that was on TV.
Yep.
I remember The Entity, Nightmare on Elm Street. They were so good. I love 80s horror movies.
Oh, me too. They were so much fun. Yeah.
They're fun, but they hit different as well because they weren't really nasty at times.
Yeah.
But they were, as nasty as they were were so much fun as well. Yeah, 80s horror, absolutely love it.
Yeah. I love 80s horror as well. There's something, like some of them are just iconic and some of them are campy, and both are great for their own reasons,
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, the book thing says the amount of us who jumped into Stephen King in our early teens is hilarious. For me, it was Needful Things when I was about 12. Yeah, I was gonna say Needful Things is a one heavy book to get into at age 12. Yeah. I'm sure.
That's my favorite. Yeah, sorry, John, I absolutely adore Needful Things.
It's so good, right? When did you read it, John?
I read it when I was about. I remember buying it when it got released on paperback over here. So I think that would be early 90s. So
cool.
Probably about 18, 19 when I read it.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I reread it. Well, I say reread it. I had the audiobook last year, and it's actually narrated by Stephen King. And I love it when the author narrates an audiobook, because all the context is like put across in the way that they tell the story. You know, that the tone and everything is exactly how it's meant to be. And he did a phenomenal job of telling that story, and it's still amazing, still my favorite.
That's so cool. Well, I haven't heard him narrate his own stuff actually. Maybe that's something I need to do.
Really good.
I wish I could get into audio like you all, honestly. I always have so much trouble focusing on audio when it comes to fiction. I don't know if you struggle with that at all, but I know for me, like nonfiction, I can actually listen to, if it was like a Neil deGrasse Tyson book or something, I could totally listen on audio and get a ton out of it. But somehow fiction loses me. Like I just am not able to concentrate, or I'm like, oh crap, I realized I'd zoned out for the last, 2 minutes, and then it's the whole important section.
The way I get into audiobooks is I treat it like a book. So I'll sit down and I'll play it through like the stereo.
Yeah.
But I don't do other things. I sit there and I treat it as if I've got the book in my hand. And I just zone in on the words, and it works for me. I know some people like to do other things while they're listening to audiobooks, but no, I can't multitask.
Yeah,
I'll just end up getting confused and having to listen to it again. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I really enjoy audiobooks. Some of them are just so well done, and some of them really add to the story. There's one, the Disquiet Dragons book club has got Wilding Hall by Elizabeth Hahn this month.
Oh yeah,
and that story is told in like, it's like the story is in the 70s, but the characters are being interviewed present day about it.
Yeah,
the audiobook has got like a cast of characters, so each character is voiced by a different actor, and it just adds so much to the story. It's absolutely wonderful stuff. Sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
So I do think sometimes an audiobook can really elevate a story when done well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree. Actually, I was going to say case in point is, and I know Alicia's going to love this, but have you heard the First Law audiobooks at all? The narrator is honestly one of the best I've ever heard in my life. Like, that's one of the that I concentrate on.
Yeah, I do have those books, but I haven't got around to them yet.
If you like grimdark, then that's a really good one. It's got like it's very grimdark, but it's also got a lot of British humor, so it's kind of a nice juxtaposition to the darkness, if that makes sense. So it's got a very acerbic kind of witty humor, but yeah,
that does sound very British.
Totally. Yeah, Stephen Pacey, that's the name. Yeah, so awesome. First Law books, audiobooks are just fire, definitely. 100%. Oh yeah, Rose Madder. Have you read this one, John? By Stephen King?
I think I have. I've got it on my shelf.
Okay.
But I honestly can't remember. I'm pretty sure I've read it. Is that the one with the abusive husband?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've read that one. Yeah.
I just loved that one. I thought it was an important story to tell. I think I heard that once King published that, like, people had written him letters saying like that book had given them courage to leave their abusive relationships and stuff. So and it's a kind of amazing thing. But apparently the author is really good. The book thing says nice. I have to check that out. Maybe when I do my Stephen King reread or something, because it's like you finish everything in his catalog, you got to start from the beginning again. So at least that's my motto.
I'll get there one day. I still haven't read everything. I've read about half of these books.
Totally. Yeah, I think I'm at about I forgot. I was counting for a while and then I lost track, but I think I'm around 50 or so.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
But
see if I can get through the rest of them in the next 2 years or so. We'll see.
yeah. But it's so funny because you say, "Oh, I've only read half of Stephen King's books," and then you realize that that's 40 books.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's not bad.
So it's kind of insane, and his output is still really fast. Like he'll put 1 or 2 books out in a year. Still,
it's crazy insane how he's still going,
and they're great.
And they're not small books.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're still consistently good. You know.
Yeah. But it amazes me how someone can put out like an 800-page book every year. It's like, it amazes me. He's something else, isn't he?
I think he was. Yeah, he was talking about in his book On Writing, which if you haven't read it, definitely a good one to read. But he was talking about how he works like 4 to 6 hours a day, and he'll make sure he gets like a couple thousand words, I think, every day. And so the consistency thing seems to be a huge factor in that. You know, his ability to put out books quickly is like, even Brandon Sanderson says the same thing. He'll have like kind of the same schedule every day.
Yeah.
I always think it's something so inspiring about that is like, you know, you think, I know this is a side tangent, but the idea of, you know, waiting to be motivated to work on something versus working on something to become motivated. You know, it seems like the people who are constantly putting stuff out or creating are the ones who work and then become motivated through that rather than the waiting part, you know.
I reckon Stephen King and Brandon Sanderson need to get George R.R. Martin in the room and perform an intervention. Say, oi, we need this book. Crack on.
There is a great interview, if you haven't seen it, with I think it's like George R.R. Martin interviewing Stephen King, if I remember correctly.
They're so good, aren't they?
And he asks like, I have a question. How do you write so fast? It was just so great, you know. And Stephen King like looks out in the audience. It's just fantastic, you know. But yeah, someday maybe Winds of Winter will come our way.
Oh, you never know.
Yeah,
we can hope. We can hope.
Totally. Yep, Patrick Rothfuss needs that intervention too. Yeah, I was gonna say is like, I don't know if you all have heard the you know, kind of events surrounding the impending release of Doors of Stone. But I think a couple years ago it was like some charity thing that he had said, you know, if I reach a certain charity goal, I will release the first chapter, was it, or something?
Yeah.
Of Doors of Stone. Then he never released it, and they hit the goal. So pretty crazy. But yeah. I was gonna say, I would love to know kind of more about your booktube journey, because you know, I know you've been reading for a long time before you decided to turn the camera on and speak, you know, and I would love to know kind of like, was there any particular impetus for you starting, and then also, was there any channels that you followed that inspired you to start, or were you on booktube kind of lurking for a while, and then, or was it something you discovered and then immediately you said, I'm just going to try this myself, you know?
Yeah, well, during like lots of people during lockdown, I hadn't been reading for a long time. Well, like a book here and there for several years. And during lockdown, I had loads of books unread on my shelf. So I had time on my hands. I started reading again. And then I was reading mainly horror. I thought I'd really quite like to get into fantasy. I'd read A Song of Ice and Fire and loved it. So I just went on YouTube and I just Googled like fantasy novels, and our reading buddy came up on the search, Ellie at Bibbidi Bobbidi Books.
Right.
And I started watching her channel, and I lurked for months and months and months watching her videos and that. And then one day I commented, and we developed our friendship, and we became really good friends. And we were talking the one day, and I'm like, I think I'd like to start a booktube channel. what do you reckon? And Ellie's like, yeah, do it,
Yeah.
it'll be awesome. So yeah, we've all got Ellie to thank for this little channel. So
That's amazing.
yeah, but Ellie, oh, she's the loveliest person.
She really
She
is.
really
Yeah.
is. You need to get her on Shelf Talkers.
Oh
if
yeah,
you can.
definitely. I'm gonna ask her
Yeah,
about that. You know,
yeah,
because I
like
know.
my two of my favorite people in the whole world on one video. That'd be
Oh man.
brilliant.
Yeah, feeling is so mutual, man. I mean, you know, I find it so fascinating how, you know, we love reading. We start lurking on these channels, check out some videos and stuff, and then we actually develop real friendships. You know, it's like it is a testament to how strong the community actually is. That,
Yeah,
you know, like when I come to London next, you know I'm gonna come visit you guys. You know, and so it's just
yeah,
like I love that. I just love that. You can actually form deep friendships with people. And it's like, for me, I don't know very many people around me who read more than a book or two a year, if that,
yeah,
or they go,
yeah.
yeah, I think
Same,
I walked
same
by
for
a
me.
library once, you know.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. My sister, she doesn't read at all,
Mm,
and the other week, for my birthday, she got me a couple of books, and bless her heart, she said
mm,
she went into a bookshop and wandered around for an hour trying to
mm.
pick a book for me, and I'm like, I just thought that was so sweet,
Yeah,
and you know, the fact that she doesn't read, but she went into this bookshop because she knows how much books mean to me. I just thought it was so kind of her.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
she was really worried. She was like, "Oh, do you like them?" And I'm like, "You got me a book. You got me folk horror. You couldn't have picked better if you'd have tried." So yeah, I was very happy.
It's awesome. I love that. Yeah, no, I feel very much continually surprised by how broad people's reading tastes are here, and you know, on booktube, and like how much we can all learn from each other too, because like you were saying,
Yeah,
John, it's like we all have something different we can add to this space, you know, whether we are actually filming the videos or we're participating in the comment section like so many of you here, and
yeah,
it all contributes an important, and I would say essential aspect of the community, because you know, it's like we all get such great recommendations from each other, you know,
yeah.
and it's like
I
our reading palette broadens as a result.
yeah. I actually think the people who don't have booktube channels and
Hmm.
post comments are every bit as important as anyone who makes a video. The amount of recommendations I've had from people just posting a comment, either in my videos or other people's videos,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's just awesome, whether it be on a Discord or a comment or a video. Just the whole community in general is just so friendly and so wonderful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a pleasure to be part of it. It really is.
100%, you know, 100%. I think like, especially over, and this was one of the impetuses of this live stream too, is like, you know, I was like, hey, let's just have a nice casual chat about the books and talk a little bit about what makes this community so great. Because I know the community has been kind of put through the ringer the last week or so. And so it's nice to be able to, you know, to kind of rally around what brought us to the community in the first place, which is a love of books.
Yeah.
And to be able to celebrate that together as well. So yeah, you know, it's interesting, is like for me, when I remember I was kind of reading the Dark Tower series, kind of got me back into reading, because after college I was kind of on reading burnout, and I didn't read much for like, I could count the number of books I read on one hand in 10 years or something. And
Yeah,
then
exactly the same as
yeah.
me, because video games happened. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's how it is. You know, it's like I think I also feel like you know, once a lot of people say that too. It's like after college their reading dropped off, or you know, and then they kind of rediscovered it again later. And I know
yeah,
for me that was the case. And then I hadn't read much fantasy. I'd read Harry Potter. I'd read Narnia, and I think that was maybe I read The Hobbit as well. But they were all years and years apart, and so didn't really have much contextual reference of fantasy in general. And I thought it was just like I had preconceived notions of what it would be. And then I discovered the Wheel of Time. I'm like, oh, fantasy can be that. It could have Eastern influences in it. Oh, that's interesting. Then I saw Dresden Files. Oh, a wizard who lives in Chicago, that is also fantasy. It's like I started to realize that fantasy is actually a blank slate in a lot of ways. It's a construct by which stories can be told, just like horror, I would say. You can have fantasy horror, you can have cosmic horror. I think someone was talking about Adarsh was talking about H.P. Lovecraft there, Lovecraftian horror. You can have comedy horror, you can have sci-fi horror, you can have coming of age horror, right? It's like the possibilities are endless.
Everything horror.
Yeah, everything horror. You can have horror.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still really, really new to fantasy. Like I'd read as a kid, I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I'd read The Hobbit, and I'd read The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Then I read Song of Ice and Fire, and that was until 18 months ago. That was all I'd read, fantasy wise. But yeah, I'm still discovering what kind of fantasy I enjoy most. I think the subgenre is called noble bright, where it's like heroic protagonists that always do the right thing. I think that's kind of my favorite. I'm not really a fan of morally grey, because I get enough morally grey in my horror and my Warhammer.
That's fair.
So I just want goody two shoes saving the world. Thank you very much. And elves and dwarves, and that's what I want. And dragons.
I think when we started reading John Gwynne together, we read Shadow of the Gods and Hunger of the Gods, and I think because John Gwynne's Faithful and the Fallen series is fantastic, and I think what you were probably looking for is something more like that, because there's giants and dwarves and all that stuff. There's kind of a Norse fantasy slant to it, but then it also talks about the nature of prophecy. It talks about good versus evil, and it's got a heroic arc throughout. Like it seems like something that I just get the feeling you would like, and it reads very cinematically because it's like a few pages per chapter, so it's like it reads fast.
Yeah, that Bloodsworn. Oh, I'm so disappointed with it, but not in the. I can tell that it's a good book.
Yeah.
And I should love it because I love Norse mythology and I love Viking stuff. And I love all that kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be a shoo-in that I'd love those books. I just really struggled with them. I mean, I still haven't finished Hunger of the Gods, I'll be quite honest. It's a bit of a slog in the middle.
Yeah. And that's okay. Like I also felt similarly that it didn't quite measure up to Faithful and the Fallen. The Banished Land Saga is what those series are called. But there's some people who feel like it's their favorite thing in that John Gwynne's ever written. So who am I to say?
I mean, one of the books that I've read that I'd say it's in my probably top 5 fantasy books I've read. And other people are like, oh, it's okay. I loved it. Have you read Kings of the Wild?
Oh, I was gonna, Nicholas Eames. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
It's so good. It's just so good.
Totally.
I mean, it's funny and it's heroic, and the main character, he's like so stoic and reliable, and
it's got the rock references. Can't go wrong with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you read a fantasy book and within the first paragraph you've got a White Snake reference, you've got me. You've got me.
When the wizard's name is like Moog or something, right? Like the synthesizer.
Yeah. And wasn't there a kobold called Fender or something as well?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, it's a wonderful book. Okay. Absolutely love that one.
I'm just sorry y'all, we got carried away chatting, and there's some great comments that came in. And if I accidentally skip over because a bunch came in and you want to mention it again, feel free to mention it in the chat. But so Joseph was saying, John, what book is a hidden or underrated gem for you? Do you have?
I'm gonna go with a fantasy book that I've read, and it's by an author called, I think he's an independent author called John Cronshaw, and it's called the Ravenglass Chronicles, and it's really interesting how he's written this book. It's a series of 26 novellas, and each one is titled after a card in the major arcana of the tarot deck. So you've got like the Tower, the Lovers, all that kind of thing, and the magic system is actually based around the 4 suits of tarot. There's this material called Ravenglass, and if you're a person of privilege, when you become of age, you get your piece of Ravenglass and you give it to the this like smith, and you give him some of your blood, and the blood decides what kind of item you'll get. So it might be a chalice, or it might be a dagger or a sword or something, or a wand. But Ravenglass, nobody knows how to activate it. All the lore has been destroyed over time. And this girl, who the main character, she's like the heir to the Empress, but she doesn't want anything to do with it. She's a bit of a tomboy, and she just wants to lead her own life. And she comes of age, and an unfortunate event happens, and she accidentally finds out how to wield the power of Ravenglass, and she has to escape. And it's all about her trying to find her way in the world and find out the secrets of Ravenglass. There's like wyverns and magic and battles and assassins, and it reads it's about 1,400 pages long.
Really?
It reads really quick.
Is it a standalone or
I think he's done other books in like the Ravenglass universe, but I've only read this one. I think I bought the whole book series for like all 26 novellas. I think it was about $2.99 on Kindle.
Oh my god! Yeah,
but I've never heard anyone else talk about John Cronshaw or the Ravenglass Chronicles, and I bloody loved them. I thought it was great.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, that's my hidden gem.
Taking notes. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I was trying to think if I had a hidden gem. I don't really know. I'm trying to think. Like, it's so hard to figure it out. I would say a lesser known, like one that I probably talk about ad nauseum on this channel because I want more people to read it, but it's the one that people don't go to usually when they think of Ken Follett, which is the Century Trilogy. You know, a lot of people go for Pillars of the Earth is his most famous book, and then Kingsbridge series that it's part of is his most famous work, and then he has some standalone thriller novels and stuff. But the one that gets most overlooked, I would say, is the Century Trilogy, because it's about these 5 families across 100 years of world history.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
I've got book 1 and book 3, and I bought them because you raved about them. So I thought,
really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, if Nickel says they're good, I'll give them a try.
I think you'll like the character work in it. It's honestly some of the best character work I've ever read. Yeah.
Yeah. I think buying them on hardback was a mistake, but they are huge.
We were talking about this before the live stream started, but it's like I was reading Wind and Truth in December, and I was having like wrist issues from holding the book for so long. It's like, oh no, that's when you're reading some
conker, isn't it?
Yeah. Adar says, "What's your 2 favorite video games?"
Fools will die. Skyrim.
Nice.
Skyrim.
That's a great choice, man.
Yeah, I've got 4,000 hours in Skyrim.
Oh, really? I would say for me, I think like, I would say in terms of pure consistency, probably Legend of Zelda series. Like I've liked every single entry that's come out, and I remember playing the
Breath of the Wild.
Huh?
How good was Breath of the Wild?
Oh, it's unreal, and they just keep outdoing themselves. Like I remember when Ocarina of Time came out in the 90s, and still one of the best paced Zelda games of all time, one of the best paced RPG, action adventure RPGs of all time.
Yeah.
And it just completely revolutionized the genre in so many ways.
Yeah.
Both from a storytelling perspective and then also.
Yeah. I've got a little story about Ocarina of Time. You
Oh.
could not buy that game in England for love nor money. It was this amazing game that I wanted it so bad. And at the time, it's like there was no Amazon or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had to get the coach down to London to find a copy.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it for £50 in HMV in Piccadilly Square. And that was the highlight of my trip to London, finally getting the Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. I remember those days. Yeah. I remember those days all too well, the pre-Amazon days. Like, I remember when the N64 first came out, we searched for it for like a month. And then we found out there was like a store that was like 50 minutes to drive away. And we're like, can you hold it? They're like, we can't hold it, because there's so many people who want it. So we drove like the wind and we got it, It's pretty good times.
I remember playing GoldenEye multiplayer with my friend Sarah.
Yeah.
And we'd play it and she'd be like, oh, you always get me. And she didn't realize that I was looking at her screen to see where she was. But we used to have so much fun on those games.
Oh yeah, and it felt. I do feel there's a lost art of things not being available readily. Is like when you finally get it, it feels so earned. Yeah, it's like you got you. It's like there's the anticipation and like rushing over to see if you can. I remember standing in the midnight release line for the Nintendo Wii, I think it was, and it was like so cold out. It was like in the middle of November, if I remember correctly, or something, or it was like Black Friday thing, and it was like middle of November, and we were all in line, and people were like holding your place in line while you went and warmed up in your cars, and then like somebody took everybody's food order and brought food for it was just like. There's just a feeling of community,
Yeah, community. I remember standing outside. There was a video game retailer here called Game, and I remember standing outside Game in Lichfield at 5 o'clock in the morning I think it was November, so it was about -4, and I'm there stood waiting for my Xbox 360, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
And now we look back at it fondly, Such as life.
Yeah.
Such as life. Yeah. Alicia said, if you don't like morally great, don't read First Law. Probably a good point. Yeah.
It's a good point, that's for sure.
Have you read Berserk? I have not read it yet. I've heard it's great though. I definitely want to read some. I want to read Berserk and I want to read One Piece just for the contrast at some point. But have you read any of these, John?
No. It's a manga, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
It's something I've never really got into. I've seen some anime. I really enjoyed it. I've seen the first series of Attack on Titan. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was amazing. But I've got to admit, when it comes to anime and Japanese type stuff, I prefer the whimsical type stuff as opposed to the violent type things. Like My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle. Oh,
since you like
Princess Mononoke. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, since you like those, you might be interested in this new one I started watching with my wife called Freeren. And I think it's a couple seasons or something. And it's very interesting because it's very slow slice of life. And it's the idea of this like elf who can live for, 1,000 years or whatever. And it is after her friends and her defeat the Demon King. So the whole series takes place after that. Like the
so it's like the fallout from that event.
So and she can live for so much longer than her friends. So her conception of time is different. She knows she has to like eventually lose all her friends, and so she's kind of like dealing with these existential questions about life, and like
Yeah.
also what do you do after you've kind of peaked? What's next? It's really, really fascinating, actually.
That sounds like something I'd really enjoy.
I think you'd really enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, deep. It's very profound. Yeah. Noble Bright is fun for me to throw in from time to time. I rarely cry because of tragedy in books. Yeah. I feel that. I typically also don't cry when I read novels, but I definitely do feel the emotion. It's just like it's not necessarily like a visceral, physical manifestation of that emotion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's for you, John.
I nearly cried when we were reading the Farseer trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Bit of a potential spoiler here. Our favorite character, when I thought our favorite character was not gonna make it, I started welling up.
Yeah,
I was like, don't take my eyes from me.
And also, Robin Hobb is just so good at writing characters and making you feel every little aspect of their emotion. Like this is not really spoilery because there's no contextual reference to who is being discussed or anything. But one thing I really loved about Ship of Magic, which actually, for all of you who don't know, we're reading right now alongside Ellie from Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. And I even opened up a little soft read-along channel on the Discord because I think a couple other people wanted to jump on as well. But there's like a scene where there's this like wife and her husband is dying, and she thinks about like all the dreams that they had together that could not be.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Oh my God. It's incredibly written.
That chapter. And again, it's like, it's this incredibly well written and well-rounded characters.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderfully done. And in a 20-page chapter, not much happens, but so much happens as well. I don't know how she does it. I mean, she makes not much happen so interesting.
Yeah.
Her writing is just. I was a bit worried at first because that the pirate character in chapter 1, he's just an arse, and I was like, I hope I don't have to read about this full for 800 pages. And then in chapter 2, I'm like, this character's amazing, like a different character. Why did I ever doubt you, Robin Hobb? I feel ashamed for doubting you.
We're definitely in good hands, I think, with the realm of the
I think we are.
Yeah.
But as Joseph said, I do enjoy Noble Bright every so often.
Totally.
It's the goody two shoes. I like it.
Absolutely, it's great. Link's Awakening. Yes, I remember that too. I also remember that on the original Game Boy.
Yeah. Oh, what was the one? Oh, A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. Oh, that was so good as well.
Yeah. Link to the Past. Even Zelda 2, I really liked. Some of the more kind of random entries, quite fun. Let's see, really enjoyed Skyrim and Zelda. Cliff recommended Titan Quest, and I'm hooked on that at the moment. Cool.
Yeah. When Cliff mentioned Titan Quest, I went on. I did actually go on Steam and I bought it. It's really fun.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's a massive game as well.
Well
worth about the £3 I paid for it. It wasn't very much at all. But yeah, I'm playing Diablo 4 at the moment. That's really good as well.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I haven't played that one yet, actually.
Yeah,
I have so many games to catch up on, you guys. I think it's like with all the reading, it's like that's like all my free time goes into reading at this point. But I love gaming. But yeah, the decline of socialization is an interesting topic. Yeah, I think I feel that. I remember just going back to that N64 story before I was able to get the money to buy it. Basically, it was like $300. So my parents said, instead of us paying for it outright, you can do like chores and stuff around the house. Like doing dishes was worth 2 points. doing the lawn was 10 points, you know, all these different chores. And
Yeah.
after I got 300 points, the equivalency of the game, then or the system, then they would go and get it for me. And the fact that I had to wait made it like the best experience when I finally got it. And like I both love and hate the idea of being able to go like, I just found these 6 books, I'm just gonna buy them all at once. You know, like I love that from some aspects, and then I also feel like it's just like I want to treasure everything. You know, I want to treasure every. It's all about the joy of it, and rather than just like utility or efficiency. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
why
How
I
you feel
enjoy. It's why I enjoy searching for secondhand books so much. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
I could go on eBay or Amazon and have them delivered to my house. But it's so much fun going and looking at all these secondhand books, hoping to find something good. I mean, like the other week when I found that hardback of the Batman books with Rage in it, I was like, have I actually found this secondhand in a shop? I was like, it was like £3. I'm like, yeah, there's a holy grail book and I've got it.
That is incredible.
Amazing.
Because that's hard to find now, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a bit battered. It's not a pristine copy by any means of the imagination, but I bought it to read it, so I don't really care what condition it's in. The pages are in it, the words are there. I'm happy.
It's wonderful. I do really like I know Booktube is typically, and maybe this could be a good segue into just the Booktube topic in general, but like I know a lot of booktubers, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I love admiring special editions. I love the latest greatest like sprayed edges and this and that. And I have a bunch, right? But you know, I think like usually on booktubers' shelves there's always the latest greatest editions and very uniformly matching spines and stuff. And I think that's great on, you know, for those of you who are really interested in that. I think that's awesome. For me personally, I found that a mixture of both is kind of nice. Like I love, for a very select few books, like that Way of Edan one, the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio, having a special edition that represents what it means to me is really cool. But then, you know, Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind, I have like a 1950s copy. It's very worn, you know. I love that too. It's just fun. And that was like $1 sale at a library book sale. And it's like sometimes you just don't know also what you really want. Like I discovered that Century trilogy. I got all 3 hardbacks for $3 at a library book sale. Didn't know anything about it. Barely knew about Ken Follett. Hadn't read any Ken Follett. And now it's one of my favorite series. So it's just like, there is a spontaneity. You know, not everything has to be so planned out. There's a spontaneity to, I discovered this. Maybe that also goes back to that idea of like everything being too accessible, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've got to admit, I can't really afford all the fancy editions of books. So like seeing them, you see these books and as beautiful as they are, they're not really attainable for me. So I'm quite happy, you know, getting my little secondhand book calls and that kind of thing. If it's a book I really want, I'll go to the shop and or Amazon and buy it. But I'm happy treasure hunting in the charity shops, as it were.
Totally, yeah.
But, I'll tell you someone whose shelf I absolutely love his shelf. Our friend Cliff, he has the coolest bookshelf.
Really?
Yeah. He has a lot of. He's kind of similar to me in that he gets quite a lot of his books secondhand.
Oh,
but
cool.
He has like loads of vintage copies of Stephen King books and everything.
Oh,
and
awesome.
Yeah. Cliff's channel. I love his channel. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems. Yeah.
Yeah, Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems. Yeah, his bookshelf is awesome. I love it.
It's great. Sorry, I didn't understand for a moment. No, I love his bookshelf, and just what a wonderful guy too. You know, he's
the nicest guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a gem. You know.
Yeah, he's just so supportive of everybody.
Yeah.
He's always giving everyone like advice and support, and yeah, he's Booktube MVP. That's what I
Yeah.
reckon.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'll always be very grateful to him for spotlighting our channels when we're just getting started, and just the lovely guy, very supportive,
Yeah,
important part of this community, I think.
yeah. I remember he gave my channel a shout out when I only had about 20 subscribers, I think.
Yeah.
And within about 2 weeks of him doing that, it bumped me up to nearly 50. And I know it's like when you're just starting, that kind of bump is such a big deal.
It
And
is.
I'll always be thankful to Cliff for that. It was awesome of him to do. He's the best guy.
Yeah, really stand-up guy, And we all seem to have very similar reading tastes too. So it's always so much fun to discuss.
Yeah.
Books,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I wanted to actually ask you also, John, just about your booktube journey and kind of how your tastes and preferences have kind of evolved. Because I know we were talking a little bit about that, just the idea of, how much to read, how to keep the joy of reading, and all that stuff. If you feel comfortable chatting about that, like, I think that's an important topic that, it's very easy for this community. It's like very easy to want to read all the things. So how to keep it fun and stuff. Yeah, I would love to hear your perspective, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. I mean, horror's my main genre, and I started Booktube, and I started reading a bit more science fiction and a bit more fantasy. And as much as I enjoy those genres, I always go back to horror. And my reading life is always seems happiest when I'm being scared stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, as much as I enjoy fantasy and science fiction, I think the channel will always have horror at its heart. But it is really easy to be swayed by whatever's popular, and I got burned by this because I was trying to find new fantasy, and I was watching Booktube, and everyone was like, "Oh, this book, Fourth Wing, it's this wonderful, wonderful book." I would rather stab out my eyeballs than read anything like that author again. I'm not trying to be this horrid gatekeeper or anything.
No.
But that book,
you like what you like, Yeah.
I hate it, and it's not romantasy. Because I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. Bloody loved that. I thought that was brilliant. But Fourth Wing,
didn't do it for you.
But Booktube made me read it, and I wish it didn't. I can see why it's really popular. It just wasn't for me. It is on me more than that author, I think. Because I hate medieval type fantasy when they're all talking like teenagers, and they're like, "Whoa, he's so hot, dude." And it's like,
really?
No, get back on your dragon and stay in your lane. But there are times when I've been influenced by Booktube to read something and hasn't quite worked for me. So I'm just gonna choose to read whatever I want.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah. I mean, if someone recommends something to me, I'll look into it, and if it is something that sounds cool, I will read it. But I'm not gonna read something just because Booktube says I should read it. I mean, I recently released a video on my channel, and I did burn out on reading last year, and it's easily done because there's so much. There is pressure to read a lot of books because you feel like you need to read a lot of books, so you've got something to talk about on your channel. And from what people have spoke to me about in the comments on that video, they'd rather you just read one book and talk about a book you love rather than reading loads of books just because you feel you need to. So there is a balance with YouTube, Booktube.
Yeah.
And
I think you know, to your point, John, I feel there are so many channels out there, and I think that's wonderful because there's such a variety of reading that and book tastes, and I feel like there's something for everyone. And to that point, I think like having our own unique reading taste is what makes us all special as human beings. You know, like one of the many things that makes us special, right? It's like it broadens our worldview, it solidifies or questions our existing worldview. I think like that's, you know, I think there's a huge advantage to this community to have some people who like to read 20 books in a month and are all fantasy. Some people like to read 3 books a month and are completely different genres, and every shade in between, you know. I think like it's like for me personally, I love watching Mike's book reviews for his honest take on his books, and he reads 4 to 5 books a month. I love watching Brian Lee Durfee's for the sheer insane amounts of books he reads, and he's so widely read, and he touches on genres I just don't see as much on Booktube, like historical fiction, which I've been getting into. And his video, I don't know if you've ever seen John, his videos, but hilarious. Oh, it's so great, man.
Yeah, I've got to admit, when it comes to Booktube, I know the bigger booktubers are bigger booktubers for a reason, but I tend to prefer watching like, I don't want to be disparaging to anybody, but like smaller booktubers, because I find them more relatable. Like I can find, I mean, for example, I can relate to your opinion on a book easier than someone that reads for a living, if that makes any sense.
That does make sense, actually. Yeah, there's like kind of a threshold that someone crosses where it becomes a job. Then of course they're reading, I guess you could say, not preferences, but what they choose to spend their time reading is going to be influenced by that, of course, you know. And sometimes like I like the broader channels just to kind of check it out and see. I also love small channels for the very specific curated individual and kind of personal reading taste too. So I'm right there with you. Like I know also, I think sorry, go ahead.
I really enjoy channels that talk about books that I probably wouldn't read and genres that I don't read. It's just interesting hearing their thoughts on something that would never really cross my path otherwise. And like some of my favorite booktubers don't read the same things as I do, and it's just great. There really is something for everybody in the booktube community.
Totally, I completely agree. You know, that's what I'm thinking. Like, you might actually like Brian Lee Durfee because of his wide genres. Then he's also kind of I would say, medium-sized channel. I think he's like 25,000 subs or something like that. But he, you know, it's always funny because he does everything on his, I think, phone camera or something. And sometimes it'll drop the camera and he'll go, "Oh crap, I'll edit that out," but he never edits it out. You know? Stuff like that. Like, it's just so funny. Or he'll be like, "Here's my top 10 list, coming in at number 25." Blah blah blah. So he's just great.
I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, he's wonderful. I realize how behind I am on these comments, but so going back to like 30 minutes ago, Ghibli is great. Absolutely.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, he's not wrong.
So good, right? Yeah, Joseph. Yeah.
The Hob hater. Mark the Hob hater. We see you. We see you, Mark.
Night Eyes is your favorite character, right, Mark?
Sarah, that's my friend that I used to play GoldenEye with.
Oh, really?
And she's just found out that I used to cheat.
Classic. But that was always the rule, right? For GoldenEye, no one can be odd job. That was always was the rules we played by, anyways. I have the type of bookshelves that's all over the place. Oh yeah, no, mine have started to become more all over the place. What you see here is a bookshelf that is carefully taken care of. I haven't shown you the outside ones yet, but maybe I'll do that on a bookshelf tour video or something at some point. Yeah, charity shops. Oh, totally. I can't justify spending 30 quid on a version that looks pretty. I get that. Totally get
Yeah,
that.
I'm with you, Mark.
Cliff is a gem. Absolutely.
He is. I'm still waiting for him to do a different his romantasy channel, like Cliff's Sparkly Gems. He needs to do that.
You heard it here first, everyone.
he needs to do it.
Yeah, oh, that would be hilarious and amazing. I would love that.
Oh, talking about cool bookshelves, Mark's Discworld bookshelf is awesome as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely have to read some Discworld at some point. Maybe 2026. Yeah. That might be a project I might check out.
Yeah, I've read one. I've read Mort, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
my friend loves Terry Pratchett, and for the longest time he was trying to get me to get into Terry Pratchett, but all I wanted to read at the time was horror. And I tried The Colour of Magic. I was like, oh, I can't be doing with this.
Yeah, yeah.
And a couple of years ago, they had the local library had a copy of Mort. I thought, oh, I'll give it a try. Absolutely loved it. So I do want to read more of his books.
I have to check out Mort. I've only read The Amazing Maurice and something, which is probably arguably not the best place to start. It was only because it was being adapted. I figured, hey, I might as well read the book before it comes out. And I thought it was okay, but I don't think it was probably representative of the series. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but Amethyst says most of the books I buy are either secondhand from World of Books or 99p Kindle books. Yeah, totally. I feel that.
Oh, at the start of each month, I allow myself £5 and I go on the Kindle monthly sale and I pick up 5.99p books.
Yeah,
brilliant. And World of Books is awesome.
100%. That's awesome. Yeah, we have. I'll sometimes look at just kind of either if I can find. There's like a bookshop called the Iliad here, and they have two cats that are named like Apollo and Zeus or something like that. That roam around the store, and it's like a used bookstore, and they always have great deals and things. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Cliff is the man. Cliff is awesome. We got a whole Cliff fan club here, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong. He is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've seen enough to make this channel. Oh, that's right. So awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think the conversations are like my favorite part about this channel and the whole experience. Like, I didn't know what to expect because I'd been following Booktube for years before I decided to jump into the fray. Like because I started my channel I think April of last year, and then
you started about a month after I did, didn't you?
I think so. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it was similar kind of time that we started. Yeah.
And I first discovered Booktube like in 2019, and so I was watching it through the pandemic. Got me to read Wheel of Time, all this stuff, and so finally I decided to just try filming these videos. But I really didn't anticipate what wonderful people I'd meet through the channel. It's a different experience filming the videos and actually creating a small corner of the community of your own. And yeah, it's freaking fantastic. I love you guys is basically what I'm trying.
I've got to admit, the first video I ever made for my channel, I have never been so scared in my entire life. It was terrifying. I think it was about 15 minutes, this video, and it must have taken me 3 hours to film it because I was stumbling over words. I was recording and there was no sound. I was talking and I'd forget to press the record button.
Oh, no.
It was a comedy of errors. And but it's been quite a journey. I mean, learning to edit, that's been a learning curve. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I really am glad that I started though.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think like
it's been great.
It's some of this stuff you can really only learn by doing too.
Yeah,
it's like when you
can watch.
Like
Also, you can watch as many like beginner's guide to starting a YouTube channel. You can watch as many of them as you want, and you
Yeah.
won't get as much information as just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only
Oh,
thing I wish with my channel is I wish I'd have started it when I first got into Booktube. I wish
same.
I'd have started it years ago.
Same. I think like if I could do it all over again, I would have probably started, you know, in 2020 when I actually had a
Yeah.
bit more free time and, you know, more people were online and stuff. You know, it just would have been cool to start. But I will say, like, had that happened, I might not have met you all. So who am I to say, you know? It's just
Yeah.
kind of like that's the way timing works sometimes. Like you get more, you don't like you have a vision of how you want things to be, and then you realize, oh, I couldn't have planned this better myself, you know? It's just great.
Yeah. I guess things are how they are because they're meant to be that way.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Yeah, I have noticed the Booktube. Amethyst says, I've noticed the Booktube channels I enjoy less are those that are doing full-time job. Yeah, I feel that as well.
Yeah. It's like Amethyst has this real knack of saying the same sort of thing that I'm thinking, but in a far more eloquent way.
It's awesome. Yeah, that kind of hit the nail on the head, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. Sparkly gems. Yeah, I think there's something to this name. Full credit to you, John. I think you like Guards Guard. Yeah, I gotta read that one. I've heard great things. Amazing Maurice is for kids. Ah, interesting. Okay, yeah, I definitely started at the wrong place. Cool. Guard seems to be the unanimous. Oh, the truth by Terry Pratchett. Nice. I don't know about that one. Cool. All right. So either Guards or the truth. Good to know. Sweet. But yeah, you know, it's just interesting. Like, I would love to know from you, if you don't mind sharing, like, do you have kind of when you first got started versus now, like, did you have a specific goal in mind to starting the channel, or and if so, has that goal evolved? Or if you didn't have a goal before on what you want the channel to be or what you want the community to be like, do you have one now? Like, yeah, I'd love to kind of know.
Yeah, it's completely changed.
Yeah.
The main reason I started was I'd been watching Ellie's channel for a long time, and I'd seen I started like talking to her in the comments and everything. I'd seen that she was making this like really nice, lovely community, and I was like, I'd really like to start a channel and have that kind of little community as well. So that was like the main. I mean, I know we all say we start it to start a community, but the only friend I've got that likes reading is my friend Sarah. She reads all my cast off books, I'm afraid. It's like whenever I'm always giving her books because I'm really forgetful, and I buy books that I've already got, and I'm like, oh, do you want this? But yeah, she's the only friend that's really into reading that I have. So I thought I'll start a channel and I'll hopefully get to talk to more people about reading. And initially I was going to do stuff like oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I was just going to sit in front of my bookshelf like we all do, and I was going to do like top fives and that kind of thing and review books, and it's changed completely. I never envisioned that most of my videos I'd be wandering the countryside and talking about books in the middle of nowhere. But that came about because I did a video on the folklore of Staffordshire, which is the county that I live in. And I was out filming, and I was like, I feel much more at ease filming outside, and I feel much more relaxed. I mean, without trying to get into religion too much, I'm pagan, and so nature and being in the countryside, it holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
And just being outside just calms me and relaxes me. And I feel much more at ease filming outside than I do sat in front of a bookcase. I mean, it has its troubles filming outside.
Yeah.
I haven't got the skill yet to reduce wind noise. Don't know how to do that. So that can be an issue. But yeah, I never thought that my channel would go from just talking about books to it's almost as much about being outside and enjoying the nature as it is talking about the books now. But it is fun filming outside. I'll be glad when the warmer weather comes, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like
yeah,
cold there months of the year. So you're right.
Yeah, but the channel has not gone how I envisioned it to.
Yeah.
In a positive way, because I think filming outside, it's everyone seems to enjoy those videos that watches them. So, you know, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did have a little goal. I thought after a year of Booktube, if I have 50 subscribers, that would be amazing. And it's gone so far beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thankful to anyone who watches my videos. It's awesome. And it's great just being able to talk to people all over the world and make friends with people everywhere and talk about books with them.
One thing I really like and appreciate about your channel, John, is like you are authentically yourself when we're speaking like this, when we're speaking prior to going on live streams, when you're filming your videos, you know, and you bring that authentic self to your videos. And I think it resonates with people, you know. I like that's what in the I guess I could say like saturation of content that's out there. And you know, just and I'm not even talking about Booktube, but just in general, I think like people are looking for genuine connection. And when and when somebody's like being authentically themselves, you know, it resonates with people. And I think more. I mean,
if anyone, sorry.
Yeah. No, I just say more. I hope we'll see more of that, you know, in general. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if anyone ever met me like outside of Booktube, if they saw me wandering down the street or wandering around the countryside and they talked to me, I'd be exactly the same as I am in the videos. There might be the odd naughty word said because I try and watch my language on my videos. But I don't really see the point in not being who you are. It's much easier just being who you are.
100%. I agree. And it's way more fun. And you actually, you know, it's like people gravitate towards like-minded people, right? And so it's like, wouldn't you want to have a community of people that resonate with who you are? You know, like that's how I see it.
Yeah.
So
I think like-minded people attract like-minded people.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And I think like, you know, there's a lot of sensationalism and things like online now. So it's nice to have a quiet, peaceful corner of the internet space where we don't have to, you know, where there's a little bit of a reprieve. We can have the connection without all the other stuff that comes with it. So it's really great. I was gonna say, actually, I don't know if you've checked out Joanna from Joanna Reed's channel, but I know recently she's been using like a portable mic that's like kind of this big, and it's because she films a lot of her stuff outdoors as well, and it has like a little wind screen on it, you know, like a furry screen, and she'll talk, and it's like immaculate. The sound is immaculate, and you can't hear any of the wind or anything. It's really great.
I definitely need one of those because where I live, it's quite because it's in an area called the Midlands.
Yeah,
and it's quite high up. I think where I am, I know there's a lot of other countries a lot higher, but it's about 500 feet above sea level, so it's quite high up.
Yeah.
And the area where I film the most, this forest called Cannock Chase, it's actually in a glacial valley. So the wind howls through those places. So anything that helps with that, I'll look into. So maybe one of those little mics is the way to go.
Yeah, it seems, and I don't think that, if I remember correctly, because I've seen them around, I don't remember them being too expensive either. So it's something that that would work really well for even casual content creators, I think, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. And maybe I'll see if I can find a link to the thing. I'll send it to you or something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a book thing. The outdoor videos are great, but it's a brave choice to film in this country. Yeah.
Oh, Mark, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, my friend.
The rude words than I am. Yeah.
It's only because I haven't got the technical know-how to do a beep on my videos. That's the only reason.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So there's some good wireless mic
Great stuff.
now, I think. And I think that, probably, since the pandemic and everything, those, so much more of what we do is either online or through Zoom or whatever. So I think like a lot of people have developed capability, whether it be tech or elsewhere, capabilities for being able to collaborate online,
Yeah.
more. So, yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, I think for me, personally, like when I first started this channel, it was more to just because like none of my friends really read out here, or if they will, they'll be like, yeah, let's do a book club, and I'll read the book over the month or whatever, and then like they're like, oh, I just got busy with work and stuff, which is cool. Yeah, it's totally fine, but it's nice to have like okay, we're gonna read this month, then we're gonna probably stop around here, and then we'll chat about it. Like to have a little bit of structure is quite nice. I love spontaneous surprises and just like picking up something that feels like, oh, hey, that just feels right in the moment, and I've been trying to do a little bit more of that. But I definitely feel, at least for my personality, I can be very scatterbrained if I don't have a structure of some sort, and that just goes with all aspects of my life. So I try to have a routine in the day that I follow pretty strictly, just to keep me on track.
Yeah, I'm completely the opposite. I feel so restricted if I have a schedule or a plan of what to do. I just like waking up in the morning, not knowing what I'm going to do that day, and then just seeing where the wind takes me.
That's awesome.
And my reading is the same. I have just such a chaotic way of reading. It's like, will I read? Will I have one book on the table? Will I have 10? Who knows? Who knows? But I know a couple of months ago I was reading like 10 books at once, and but other times I'll have like just one book that I'll focus on, and I don't do well with structured TBRs. They're not my thing.
I totally get that. Yeah, I definitely really fully committed myself by having 4 read-alongs on the channel. I was like midway through January, I was like both very excited about it, and also, oh dear God, what have I done?
I couldn't do it. I have nothing but admiration for you for sticking to that. I just couldn't. I mean, it's taking all of my willpower just to read these James Herbert one book a month.
Oh, sure.
It's like I'm really enjoying it at the moment, but I'm only on the 3rd book.
Yeah.
But I can imagine being halfway through and going, oh, I want to read some King.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not enough James Herbert now.
Hence the 10 books at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that, in the sense of, so sometimes putting yourself in a corner can make you feel like, I need to break out of it and do something completely spontaneous. So now what I've been doing is I'll have like a long running book. Right now I'm reading that Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which is like this history book. And so it's nice to be able to read a chapter here, chapter there, just have it kind of lingering in the background to break things up a little bit. But I know, I don't know if it's the same for you, John, but I know for me, I find the phone and being on social media very addicting. And if left to my own devices, I'll either be doom scrolling or watching some videos, and like hours will go by. And so the structure actually really helps me, because I've been trying to do this thing where I read like an hour when I first wake up, then I'll read an hour right in the middle of the day when I start kind of like flagging, from work, and then an hour at night. And so that's like 3 solid hours a day and it still lets me get my work done. But then also it's like the schedule makes me go, okay, I actually need to be reading consistently every day in order to hit the goal, quote unquote, which is, it's always about like that, going back to what we were talking about earlier, is like keeping it fun whilst reading
Yeah.
what you want to read, and it's always a delicate balance there, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I tried last year, and it's almost what burned me out on reading.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to read 100 pages today to keep on track. And it just got to the point where I was finding it exhausting.
Mm.
And now I'd actually, like last year, I'd actually feel if I didn't read enough,
Yeah.
I'd feel guilty about it.
Mm.
I thought, it's meant to be a hobby. I'm meant to be enjoying this, and it's stressing me out. So I made the conscious decision to slow everything down, and I'm able to. I only read about maybe 30, 40 pages a day now. So I don't read much at all. But I'm taking the information in, and even though I'm reading less, I feel like I'm reading more because more of it's sinking in, and I've got more time to appreciate these stories and these wonderful worlds that are created.
Yeah.
So by slowing it down, well, what the saying is, less is more, isn't it? So, and I really do find that that's it's working for me, and what works for me may not work for someone else, but
Yeah.
at the moment, until I get that urge to read 15 books at once, it's doing me all right at the moment.
I think that's lovely, man. I think that's the the trap that we all fall into, is like we want to read all the things, we get great recommendations from each other, and then it becomes a question of like, how do we keep it fun? Because that's really the paramount importance. It's really not. It's not a question of how much we read. It's not a question of how hard the books are, how long the books are, and it's not. It's like we don't watch a film to fast forward to the end. We don't read a book to get to the end as fast as possible. It's about that journey.
Yeah.
So whatever that journey feels like for you, I think like that's what it should be. And to your point, actually, I feel, so I've been reading this Malazan Book of the Fallen with a bunch of people on the channel. And those are very dense books, and the prose is beautiful, but there's a lot of stuff going on. And, it's like you blink and you miss it. And so I've been forcing myself to slow down. Same with Jenny Wirtz's Wars of Light and Shadow series. Those books have a prose that's deliberately written in a way that forces you to slow down, actually. And so I'll read maybe 20 pages of that in an hour, and as opposed to my regular 40 to 50 pages of something else. So I find it's like a time refunder. So the slower you go, sometimes like when I'm reading Malazan Book of the Fallen, I'll deliberately start going slower, and I'll end up reading it faster in a way because I'm not as distracted, so I'm just fully immersed in that thing, and I think about
it's so easy. Like you try and speak, you like, oh, I need to finish this chapter by blah 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 time, and you speed through it, and then you come to reflect on what you've just read, and you end up reading half the pages again.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you may as well just slow down and take all this information and all these amazing worlds. You may as well just slow down and enjoy them and take them in a bit more, reading a bit more organically, if that makes any sense to anyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's really working for me. I've been enjoying my reading this year, probably as much as ever. And I had the perfect book at the start of the year because I was feeling a bit burned out. And for the Disquiet Dragons book club, we read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Honestly, I'm sure Becky Chambers, her books just come along exactly when I need them. It was just it was an amazing book. Absolutely loved it. It was wonderful talking in the Discord about it as well. But yeah, if anyone ever has a reading slump, just read some Becky Chambers. It'll sort you right out.
Good to know. Actually, I've actually never read any Becky Chambers, so I'll have to. I'll definitely
you need to.
Is that
her books are a warm hug?
Yeah. Or would you say that's a good place to start, or would you recommend somewhere else?
I'd say A Psalm for the Wild Bill. It's a novella, and it's I just thought it was the perfect book. It's probably in my top 5 books of all time. I think I've read that book either 3 or 4 times now, and it's just magical every time.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna check that one out then. Maybe I'll start in the next month or two, as I'll probably need a break from the dense fantasy a little bit.
I mean, it's about 160 pages. You could read it slowly and still read it in a weekend.
Oh yeah.
So, but it is a book that you do want to take your time with, because beautifully written, and the characters are just so lovable. But yeah, wonderful book.
That's awesome. Hey Matt, I just saw.
Hey Matt,
good to see you here, man. I loved Long Way. Nice. All right. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
Malazan has been awesome. Still on Gardens of the Moon. Don't want to rush it. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the right way to go. You know, with Malazan or Malazan, tomato. I think that's a good way to go. And just so you all know, also, just kind of throwing it out there, it's like with these read-alongs, and I'll probably do a community post about this, but we can always assess after like a month or so and see how everyone's doing. Because last thing I want to do, just piggybacking off the point that we're talking about here of keeping reading fun, is last thing I want to do is make anyone feel stressed or feel like it's work. So we can adjust the calendar always, and it's just really about what works for everyone. So no problems there. Yeah, my mind could use a break here and there. So
yeah, and the thing with like our reading as well, it's funny because we'll think, oh, we've only read 4 books this month. I bet there's only like 0.1 of the world's population that reads 4 books a month.
Oh yeah,
we're still reading. So I mean, 3 books a month, you're still reading 36 books a year. That's a huge amount of books.
Massive, yeah. And it's like so many of the books that we all choose to read are not the standard 200-300 page books,
Yeah.
So, Long Way was so philosophical. I wish we had more of a dialogue on it in the Discord, and got a few reactions. But man, there was a lot to talk about. Oh, cool! I have to check that out, Gage. I must have missed it.
Yeah, I'm kind of guilty. I felt so bad because I had a really busy week at work, and I meant to get back to that comment, and I never got around to it. So I really do. If somebody takes the time to write a comment, I should really get my act together and give it the time it deserves in replying back to it.
No, I get it. It's such kind of like what we're talking about earlier. Is it's such a balancing act, because we have obviously our own full-time jobs and lives, and then we have, of course, the Booktube community, and then we have our Discord, and we have all these things, and it's like figuring out how to balance it all. It's always an ever evolving situation. I like to cook.
Yeah, I mean, I'm typical Gen X. Social media is difficult for me.
Yeah,
I have little patience for it.
I feel like I've always had a love and hate relationship with social media. Doing this YouTube channel has kind of helped me love it more than hate it than I used to. But I'm also on Instagram and all that stuff for composing. So it feels like a lot because I'm doing kind of double posting. It's like I'm doing all the posts for the YouTube channel, then I'm doing videos for the Instagram, and it's like it does feel like a lot sometimes.
Yeah, I am trying to get better with like the Discord and all that kind of stuff. I never used to really use it that much. I used to have Facebook, but I've binned that off. I just didn't enjoy Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better with social media. So yeah, I do try and reply to everything, but it's difficult sometimes.
Totally. I think, like, for me personally, if it wasn't for the composing career being so it's so detrimental not to have it. Like I was actually, there was I don't know if you heard this, but a couple days ago, I think, I forget which actress from Game of Thrones was interviewed, and she was saying that when she wants to get off social media, and the director told her that the studio tells her, the director, the actors that you get, the cast that you get, the main cast, their collective followers have to be at least a certain number of million followers.
Oh,
So if she deletes her thing, she's automatically
yeah,
out of the running for big profile gigs. And she worked on Game of Thrones. Like,
that's
that just goes to show.
ridiculous.
And composing is not too far behind that, right? So it's just
Yeah,
a weird situation. But if it wasn't for composing, I probably would have deleted that stuff, or like put it on
yeah,
pause. Take a social media break for a year or something, and just do YouTube, do the Booktube channel. But
yeah,
alas, it is not to be.
yeah. Getting rid of Facebook and Twitter, one of the best things I've ever done.
Oh yeah, I bet. I'll live vicariously through you all.
Yeah.
Alicia says, I'm also still on Gardens of the Moon, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah. No, I feel you. And also to anyone who's reading Gardens of the Moon right now, I'm on Dead House Gates, and it is like quantum leap forward from Gardens of the Moon, which I really enjoyed. So you have that to look forward to whenever you get to it. No rush, no pressure, always. But yeah, John, I'm just so thrilled, man, to be able to chat with you here. This has just been such a blast. Like, thank you for taking the time today on a Sunday evening after a full day of work to like chat
That's
with
all
me here.
right.
It's just been so much fun.
No, thank you for having me on. But I've got to admit, I
Yeah.
bet people have seen Shelf Talkers and they're like, wow, Mike's book reviews. And then Dr. Philip Chase. And then I bet they saw episode 3 and they're like, Nikhil's gone to Temu for this guest.
No, come on. I love all three of your Booktube channels for very different reasons,
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of it,
Yeah, I really like how you've got such a wide variety of people that you're hoping to get onto Shelf Talkers. I think it's great. It's like every little corner of Booktube you're trying to cover. It's wonderful.
Oh, thanks so much, man. I mean, I think that's like, for me, I love variety, and I want to show more variety. It's like even the genres covered, the types of people on, because we all have interesting things to say based on our experience, and our worldview. And it's like a bigger Booktube channel, someone will have something very interesting to say from their vantage point. Smaller Booktube channel, equally so from their vantage point. So I think like we all benefit from having a broad variety of conversations rather than the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel you. It's so great chatting with you. I'm just putting up the last couple here. This has been great. Oh, Alicia, we love you. Thank you for being here. Thanks all for being here. Gage. Yeah, I know what you mean. I do also love smaller booktubers. Definitely, I think we'll have to do a sequel to Shelf Talkers at some point. And I'm sure,
that'd be fun.
As we do live ships traders and we kind of work our way through that, I don't want to put Ellie on the spot or anything, but maybe we can all chat about it maybe at some point.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really fun. The last one was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a blast. We had done a Farseer trilogy chat, for those of you who don't know, so you can check that out in the live section there. All three of us got to chat, so it was really fun. And Joseph, so glad that this has been helpful to you in de-stressing, because life sometimes gets in the way. But we always have our shared love of good books and stuff to keep us going. And I know that for this week, it has been very helpful to me as well. So yeah. So John, thank you again, man. Thanks all for being here. Really appreciate you all. You make this community what it is, and we're all so grateful to you. So I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other always. We will see you again soon, hopefully with a sequel video at some point.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.